Why should a Greek talk with a Spaniard, an Italian or a Portuguese these days? Why should social democrats initiate this discussion? The acronym PIGS entails a good deal of racism. And this point has been pushed so far that one is tempted to remember how the pigs reacted in George Orwell's Animal Farm. In any event, it makes sense for Europeans finding themselves in similar conditions to contemplate common action. For Greek social democrats, 2009 came with the euphoria of a record-breaking electoral success for PASOK. At the time, very few would have imagined that weeks later we would have unearthed a staggering double-digit deficit. Very few would have imagined that PASOK, that was largely responsible for the creation of the middle class in the 80s, would now be invited to oversee its demise. No one would have imagined that being responsible at the time meant, in fact, compromising on every single belief we held when signing on as social democrats. At the time, we were the unique Greek case. We still remember how a CEO of Telefonica in Spain was saying that comparing Greece to Spain is like comparing Real Madrid to Albacete. In fact, we clearly remember how a number of Southern MEPs left the room every time Greece was discussed in Brussels, so that they would not enter the negative frame with us. We felt alone then. Since then, the Greek precedent has had followers. Many have joined programs of comparable fiscal austerity. Many have soaring numbers of unemployment. Many of us see the youth migrating abroad. Many of us have known what it means to have streets filled with homeless people, empty or closed down shops, houses unable to heat themselves, and real hunger of the time we have not seen in Europe for decades. Many of us live in fear of the next, last measures to come. And for many of us, the crisis is very close to becoming a humanitarian crisis. Still, we are the only ones threatened with Brexit. Most of our peer nations in the European South are threatened with a Greek-style detonation of a socio-economic bomb. They are being told that there are two ways, the Troika way and the Greek way. There is a widespread belief in Greece that we are being made an example or a guinea pig. That measures that are introduced in Athens are in fact pilot projects for Italy, Spain and Portugal. That what is happening in Athens is an experiment on how you can destroy the European social model, which is a social democratic creature. The European South is largely portrayed as the sum of fast track and lagging behind. In the scheme, Greece is always the proverbial laggard, or the example of how things should not be done. There is a Greek of politics that should be avoided. There is a Greek style of political radicalization that should be avoided. There is a Greek style poverty that should be avoided. There are Greek delays in implementing structural reforms that should be avoided. And we are still caricatured as the proverbial corrupt and lazy Southerner. Being a special case for only too long, Greeks crave to share the feeling of injustice with the rest of the European South. More than that, they crave for a feeling that goes beyond sympathy for a socio-economic decline and national humiliation. They crave for a feeling of solidarity and common political initiative. Many of them are also eager to find out whether being a social democrat means anything in times of strict and uncompromising memoranda signed with the Troika. This is the political challenge for the Southern talk. Much like Germany cannot survive unless Bavaria accepts that its wealth and poverty is German, much like Spain cannot hold itself together unless we talk about neoliberal policies rather than Madrid dragging down Barcelona. Much like Sicily and Calabria should not be seen as fiscal luggage for Italy. So the Greek people must be shown that being European means something more than being punished for their wrongdoings and past sins. There must be room for a project of political solidarity that undermines the spirit of helplessness and determinism. True, each crisis is special. But it is also true that there is a crisis common to all and for all. Our response should also be common. We cannot have any social democratic project without talking about redistribution. Not at a national level, not at a European level. Unless we feel entitled to embark in such a discussion, we might as well the destiny of the pigs. We might as well give on social democracy. Or we might actually decide that we are not alone.